James Barfield here with your Urban Connection. And remember now, before we get started, this is the channel that is often imitated, but is never duplicated. And one of the reasons for that is we talk about things others simply won't touch. And today is going to be one of those days when we do just that. You see, today is February the 15th, smack dab in the middle of Black History Month. And today's program is my version of a Black History special, because I'm going to straighten up some of the lies that are being told by members of the Republican Party in the United States Congress, United States Senate, and certain state legislatures. Okay? Now, the big lie that they're telling, ladies and gentlemen, is that they want to get rid of the Black history talk because, as they say, it scares and makes their young white children feel guilty. Now, let me straighten this up and tell you something. Nothing could be further from the truth. That is their version of the big lie. Now, I want you, ladies and gentlemen, to understand something. Nowhere, no how, and no time has Black history made anyone feel guilty. I don't care what color you are, what gender you are. No, what they want to do is to cherry pick what is taught in our schools, in our universities, and in our churches, and in our libraries. You see, they want to ban certain books that tell the truth about American history. They want to ban these books from schools, libraries, universities, churches, their communities, period. Okay? Now, I want to set the record straight and tell you exactly what it is they're afraid of. It's not Black history. Black history is not a bad thing, it's a very good thing. And in my lifetime, I've never seen as one single instance where Black history made anybody, regardless of the race, color, creed, sex, gender, feel guilty. But I'm going to tell you what does make them feel guilty. It is when we talk about the Black experience in American history that has gone on for over 400 years. That's what makes them feel guilty. And it should. So let me just put some truth to some of this stuff that you've been hearing from such people as Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, who wants to tell teachers what they can and cannot teach regarding our history in the state of Florida. Governor Greg Abbott, who wants to do the same thing. And then Greg Abbott is one of the leading proponents of turning back the clock on voting rights. Now, Mr. Abbott, Governor Abbott, whatever you want to be called, I want to say this to you. We are going to vote, and you can't stop us, try as you may. As a matter of fact, Governor Abbott, we will be voting in larger numbers than we have in the past. You don't believe it? Ask the state of Georgia. Now, others, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who was just elected in November, just took office last month. one of the very first things she did under the executive order was to say that the Little Rock Nine, you remember them? Those were the people that attempted to integrate the Little Rock high schools in 1964, when former Governor Barbara Faubus had National Guard troops stand in the doorway to prevent them entry. And President Eisenhower had to send the National Guard to Little Rock to guard and make sure they were allowed to enter the school. Now, mind you, this is a public school, okay? So their parents, these 9 people, their parents were paying taxes to go to support that very school. But Governor Sanders, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, wants you to forget all about that. She doesn't want that to be taught in our history. You see, that's a part of the Black experience in American history. So what she wants to do, she wants to eliminate all history regarding Blacks until 1970. I'm sorry, Governor Sanders, it doesn't work that way. You see, Governor Sanders, Governor Abbott, Governor Santos, you cannot undo what has been done. And I want to tell you right now, you can pass all the laws you want to, but we, as African Americans, will continue to talk about Black history and the Black experience that we have suffered in America and in American history. So you can pass all the laws you want to, but I want to promise you one thing here today. We will continue to talk about Black history and the Black experience. That's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we will talk about it. We will teach about it. We will preach about it. We will tell it on the mountaintop, okay? And we will do that in libraries, in schools, in churches, in universities, in communities, and wherever else we want to do that. No amount of laws can take that out of our mouths, okay? So let me set this straight. I want you to stop lying, all of you. It's not about Black history that you're concerned about. It's about the Black experience with American history that you don't want taught to your children and to Americans. But no, 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 no. We're not having any of it. We're not having any of it. So let me just give you a few examples of the difference between Black history and the Black experience in American history. You see, Governor Santos, Governor Abbott, Governor Huckabee Sanders, and I might add, Governor Laura Kelly. I want you all to understand this. When 3 Black children, females, were bombed and murdered in Birmingham, Alabama, nobody was feeling guilty about those 3 girls attending church, but an awful lot of people of all races, of all genders, of all sexes, felt guilty when 3 white members of the KKK bombed that church and killed those 3 little girls. That's not Black history, that's Black experience in American history. And that's the part you don't want told. Let me give you another example. In Selma, Alabama, at the Edmund Pettus Bridge, when John Lewis led a march for voting rights for African Americans. Nobody felt guilty about that. But what they did feel guilty of was when the lynch mob came and began to beat and torture these same African Americans who were guilty of nothing more than doing what they have a constitutional right to do, and that is a peaceful protest for the rights of African Americans to vote. That's the part you don't want people to talk about. You see? Now, let me give you another example. In 1964, in Philadelphia, Mississippi, when three men, two of them white, one black, by the names of Cheney, Goodman, and Schwerner, were in Philadelphia to register African Americans to vote in Mississippi. Nobody felt guilty about that. But what they felt guilty about is when the members of the KKK and a member of law enforcement, a sheriff's officer, collaborated to follow, murder these three men and to castrate the black man, Cheney. That is part of the black experience in American history. And that's the part that you don't want your children and future Americans to know about. You want to whitewash that part of American history. But we're not having any of it. Governor Santos, Governor Abbott, Governor Sarah Huckabee, and Governor Laura Kelly. Now, let me tell you why I include Governor Laura Kelly in this, even though she is a Democrat. But as I've said before, ladies and gentlemen, not all Democrats are good Democrats. So Laura Kelly has the audacity to come on stage at a Martin Luther King program with an arena full of black people and stand on stage and talk about how much she admired the preachings and the teachings of Martin Luther King. She lied about what her governor administration has done regarding civil rights. This woman stood on stage and told a bold-faced lie. All the time, she presides over the worst, and I'm going to say the worst, the absolute worst African American Affairs Commission in the country. Here's an African American Affairs Commission that not a single African American in the state of Kansas can say they benefited from under this governor's 4-year tenure as the governor. In 4 years, this governor nor any African American in the state of Kansas has ever received one single written report on the activities, on the accomplishments, or anything regarding the Kansas African American Affairs Commission. So for her to stand there and say that she admires and adores the preachings and the teachings of Martin Luther King, and then turn around and do just the opposite of what Martin Luther King stood for, what he preached for, and what he taught about, is absolutely ridiculous and ludicrous. The Kansas African American Affairs Commission, despite the governor having a budget surplus as we speak of over $2 billion, the Kansas African American Affairs Commission has not had a single increase in their budget for over 14 years, and that includes the 4 years of the administration of Governor Laura Kelly. She has no idea what they do, nor how they do it. She's never seen a written report. She doesn't ask for one. because she doesn't care. She is just as bad, in my opinion, as Governor Ron Santos, Governor Greg Abbott, and Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. So I want you to understand one thing. We will never forget how you stole over 100,000 acres of land from Black farmers in America. You see, nobody feels guilty about that. But what they do feel guilty about is when we talk about that as being part of the Black experience in American history. That's the part you want to do away with. You don't want future Americans and your children to know about. You want to whitewash that. You want to sweep that under the rug. But as I said, you cannot undo the fact. And we will continue. We will continue to preach and teach and talk and sing and shout about the Black experience in American history. Now, we know you don't like it. We know that you want that completely written out of American history. But you see, governors, it doesn't work that way. No, sir. We are going to tell it like we know it. We're going to tell about what we have experienced in the Black experience in American history. We will never forget the colored only signs that were hung over water fountains, waiting rooms, restrooms, auditoriums, etc. You see, that was a part of the Black experience in American history. So let's be honest and tell the truth. It's not Black history that you want to get rid of. It's the Black experience in American history that you want to hide, you want to sweep under the rug, you want to eliminate from books, you want to eliminate it from teachers presenting it in schools and universities all across this country. But I want to tell you one thing, Governor Santos, Governor Abbott, Governor Huckabee Sanders, and also Governor Laura Kelly. I want you to understand, I say today, Black history today, Black history tomorrow, and Black history forever. Whether you like it or not, regardless as to how many laws you pass, regardless as to how hard you try to turn back the clock, to eliminate and cherry pick what history, American history, teaches in our schools, in our libraries, and in our churches. Okay? Sir, you're wasting time. You and the other Republican members of the United States Congress and Senate would be better off utilizing your time to put forth some ideas, some plans, an agenda that will make this a better America for everybody, regardless as to race, color, creed, sex, origin. But you can't do that. You can't do that. because you're the party of no. You see, you are against everything, but you're not for anything. And that, according to the old saying, goes like this. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And lastly, I want to say this is Black History Month. I want to say this to the African Americans throughout the country. Be mindful of who is your kinfolk. And remember, not all skin folks are kinfolks. Learn what civil rights organizations, what community organizations, what individuals have your back. In the state of Kansas, as I mentioned to you, how Laura Kelly is a hypocrite, a liar, and is basically damaging to the African American people in the state. I have to ask the question, where is the Black Caucus? What are you doing? What are you doing to address this situation, members of the Black Caucus? What are you doing? Why are you allowing this governor to misuse the African Americans in the state of Kansas, utilizing their tax dollars to fund this program? Why they have no staff, they have no agenda, they're violating the state statute as it relates to the Kansas African American Affairs Commission. And all the while, you guys, the so-called Black Caucus of Kansas, stand by and sit on your duffs and allow this to continue to happen. And I say this on February the 15th, 2023, in the middle of Black History Month. And if you look on the website of the Kansas African American Affairs Commission, for probably the 15th year, you will see not one single word about a single African American in history. You look at their meetings, look at the minutes of their meeting that they had on January the 13th, just a matter of days before Black History starts, and they have no mention of talking about or showing about or teaching about Black History Month. So ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand, not everybody that you think is standing up for you and has your back, many of them don't, okay? So let's not let another year pass by when we allow people to make us feel bad for talking about, teaching about, preaching about Black History Month. Black History Month has never made anyone feel guilty. It is the Black experience in American history that makes them feel guilty, because it is, and it represents the good, the bad, and the ugly, and they want you to only know about what they consider to be the good. And I want you to know that there's plenty of bad, and plenty of the ugly to go along with the good. And I will continue to talk about the bad and the ugly that was part of the Black experience in American history. Don't ever let them make you feel guilty about doing the same. And remember, before you leave, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get it up to 1,000 subscribers, ladies and gentlemen. I need your help. Okay? Happy Black History Month to you, and enjoy the rest of your month. I'm out.